We want to start saving data into a database. We've been doing quite a lot of things with that of the Python, and we haven't actually found a way to actually persist some data into a database. And we want to start doing that with this video. You can actually do that. Maybe if you want to make use of something like MySQL, you can do that. And there is also the one that is actually called the SQLite. And what I'm going to do in this video is that I want to go with that of the SQLite. And this one, the reason that I want to make use of this is because we do not actually need to make any extra installation at this particular point to be able to use this, because this comes pre-installed with your Python installation. So if you installed Python and you've been working with us, you don't even need to do anything extra to be able to find out, to be able to use this particular SQLite. And we're going to just make use of that in this video. But in the future, we're also going to take a look at MySQL and something like PostgreSQL and some other databases in the future. But we'll have to go on with that of the SQLite in this particular video. And what I want to do first of all, I want to test just to find out whether I'll have SQLite installed in this particular machine. And since just like I said, that since we have that of the Python installed, it comes with that. It's already pre-installed for us. But without wasting much time, let's just try to check if we can actually install that. So you can open up your command prompt. So I'm using Git. I'm going to make use of Git right here. And if you have that right now, what you need to do is really very simple. You just need to type the following line of code to be able to do that. So I'm going to just do Python, and I'm going to just do -c, and then I'm going to, in bracket, I'm going to just simply say import, and I'm going to just do SQLite 3, and I'm going to terminate this right here, and I'm going to just do print. In the bracket, I'm going to just do SQLite 3, and I'm going to just do .SQLite underscore. So let's make sure this is actually light, and I'm going to just do underscore, and I'm going to just do version. Okay, so with this line, we're going to simply get the version of the SQL that is actually installed in this particular machine. Talking about the SQLite that is actually installed in this machine, this particular thing that we got right here. So if I press enter, it should be able to check and then print out the version for us down there. I think I made a mistake in there. I think let's take that back, and I think we just simply need to, let's make sure we correct this. This should be something like lowercase letter right here, and let's hit enter. And then if we hit enter, see that we do have a version 3.4. so this proves the fact that you have that installed in your system. Okay, so this is simply the code you need to run in your environment to be able to do this, to be able to see this. All right, so there are several ways you can actually do this, but this is just the only way that I know for now, and that is just that. So I want to close this right here, and then when we go to our development environment, I have created the folder for this that I actually call the storage, and this is the folder right here. All right, so I have the folder already opened with my editor right here, and what I want to do with this is to just go ahead and create a file and then see how we can actually begin to work on that. And the first thing I want to do is to create a file that is going to actually enable me be able to create my database first of all. Actually, before I go ahead and show you that, this is the one we have actually run right here. I want to show you the code for those who are actually using something like a different operating system, because I'm actually using that of the Windows right here. Okay, so here, if you're using something like Mac OS or Linux, you can actually run the code that is actually here. So SQLite 3 dash version is actually going to print out the version for you. And if it does not actually print that, you can actually use the code that is actually down here to install it. Okay, so if you just do sudo apt install SQLite 3, it's going to go ahead and install that for you. All right, with brew install right here. You go ahead and do that to be able to have that installation go through. So that is just that. So if we go back now to our development environment, and I'm talking about right here, what I want to do first of all is to create the first file that we're going to actually use to be able to connect to our database, right? So I'm going to right click on this and then hit on new, and then a Python file right here. And what I want to do right here is just create a file, and let's call that connect. Maybe I'm going to just do connect underscore db, and we can go ahead and then open that up, and you see that that file has been created. All right, so we'll go ahead and then see how we can actually create the code that is actually going to help us be able to connect to the database. And we're going to need a module that is actually called the SQLite 3 right here. So to do that, I'm going to first of all import that. So this is going to be imports, and we're going to just go ahead and just do SQLite 3 like that. And with that line alone, it means that we have actually imported the module that we basically need to be able to do this. So on the next line right here, what I want to do is to first of all try to connect to the database. So I want to put a comment in here so that you can actually understand what I'm actually doing. So what I'm going to do, connect to, or can I just say this simply means create a database. So to create a database file is really very simple. Down here, I'm going to create a variable that I'm going to just call con, which is just short for connect, and I'm going to just set that to be equal to, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to just make use of this particular method. This is going to be SQLite dot, this is going to be dot connect, and then within that place we want to go ahead and then create the a kind of a name defined name right here. Okay, we could just call this something like my underscore database, maybe underscore, or just we're going to just do something dot db right here. So the extension is actually going to be dot db right here. That's how it's actually done with that of the, if I'm working with that of the Python. Okay, so the extension is dot db right here to be able to create the file. All right, so once that, if we run this and it works just fine, this file is actually going to get created, and you're going to see that within this folder called the storage right here. So that is that on that line. So the next thing we want to do is to create a cursor, right? So to create a cursor, let's just go ahead and just say create a cursor to execute SQL. All right, so that's just basically what that is actually going to do. If you create a cursor, it's going to help to like basically execute the SQL lines of code that we're actually going to write on this particular thing. So to do that, I'm going to put that in a variable. I'm just say cursor, and that's just a variable. So we can just pass on this particular variable have on here, which is actually called a conn, which is actually the connection file right there. And I'm going to do dot cursor like that. So this is going to be, I'm going to just do cursor and go ahead and then pass in the parentheses right here, just serving as a method in there. So down here we can just go ahead and then print a result. So if everything works just fine, we can just go ahead and say something like data connected successfully. All right, so that's just that. So the database is actually connected to, is created, and also we've also connected to that successfully right there. And if we save the changes that we have on this page right here, all we need to do is just go ahead and run this. So if you hit on run, and we do have an issue right here which we basically need to debug. So if you take a look at that, it says con, and this is just basically coming from this particular line right here. All right, so and to correct that is really very simple. That just basically needs to be SQL3. So we need to put 3 right here, and then save the changes. And let's go ahead and try that again. So if I hit in here, you see where we have a database connected successfully. All right, so it has been created, and if you take a look in here, you see that that has been created. Look at it right here. If you also take a look at the folder from here, you're going to notice that we want to open this up. Not really here. I had that open before. Now I don't know when I closed that. So if we go to our environment where we have the folder for all these things, you see that once you open up this, see that that particular file has been created. All right, so look at it right there, this particular line rather. All right, so we have that right now. The next thing that we need to do is to go ahead and then see how we can actually create a table inside of this particular database that we have just created right now. Okay, so if once you create a database, the next thing you need to do is to create a table inside of it so that you can actually go ahead and then insert data into that particular table. All right, so to do that is really very simple. What I want to do right now is I want to create a new file in here, and then go to Python, and I'm going to just, let's call this something like table, or you can basically call it anything that you like. And to create a table is actually going to be very simple. We need to, first of all, we need to import this SQL right here, SQL3. So that will be the first thing I want to have in there. And the next thing we want to do is that we need to connect to that particular database again. So for that reason, let's copy this particular line in here, and we're going to just basically connect to the database. And with this line, that's just basically how you can go ahead and connect to the database. And then if you connect to the database, the next thing you need to do is to allow it to be able to allow the execution of SQL. And for that reason, we're going to need this. So I'm going to copy this, and if we go down here, paste that right here, and we'll have that line. So after that, the next thing you need to do is to go ahead and then create your table down here. And if you want to create your table, we're actually going to make use of this cursor that we have right here. So to do that, because we're going to actually write SQL code down here, and we need this cursor to be able to interpret that, right? So let's do that right here. So I'm going to put a comment in here, and this is actually going to be create. Let's make sure I type that correctly. So now that you have this comment in here, let's go ahead and then try to create a table proper right here. So if you want to do that, you are going to make use of this variable called a cursor up here. So I'm going to copy that, paste that down here, and you're going to just basically do dot execute. This is going to be execute, and I open up this parenthesis right here, and then we'll basically we are going to throw in like three quotations right here, right? So within this place right here, we're going to go ahead and then see what we can actually do within this place. I want to first of all to create a table. We can make use of the following query. So this is going to be create table, and if not exists, so if the table does not actually exist, and we're going to just basically name the table called the users, and if it does not actually exist, we can actually go ahead and do whatever we want to do. So I want to throw in another parenthesis in here, and what I want to do within this parenthesis is I want to basically go ahead and then create some other things that we need in here. So within here, let's tab this a little bit over, and what we want to basically create within this place is just the colons that we need. So I'm going to first of all create an ID. So this is going to be an integer. Let's make sure I type that correctly. So we do have an integer right there, and we'll set that to something like primary key, and after setting that primary key, we can just set the key, give that a key to set that to something like auto increment, so that it can actually increase by itself as we keep on inserting data into that. Okay, so for instance, if you inside the first data, your first row will have column number 1, and then the second one is actually going to have number 2 automatically without having to do anything in there. So that's just what it is on that line. So we need to introduce a comma here. Then on the next line, what we want to do is to create a field that is actually called a name or colon. So we'll do text, set that to be text, and we're going to just say not now, introduce a comma, and the last line is about age. So this should just basically be integer also, right? So set that to integer, and we can just say not now, like that, and that should just be able to do it on that line. So if we scroll down a little bit down here, this is actually going to end right here. But then the next thing we basically want to do is I want to look for a way to save the changes from what I've really created earlier. Alright, so to do that, let's put a comment in here and just say something like save the changes. And if you want to save the changes, what you want to do is just make use of the variable called con up there. So I'm going to just do con dot, and we're going to just basically go ahead and just say commit. And with that, it means you've actually saved the data. So the next thing we want to do is to close the connection. Not to really save the data, but yeah, save the data right here. But down here, we're basically trying to close the connection to the con, which is the database connection. So let's say close DB, and we'll just close the database connection down here. And if you want to do that, we'll just say conn, and this is going to be dots, and we just simply say something like close, throw in our parentheses, and then we'll save the changes right here. Okay, so just take a look at that and make sure that your own looks just the same way mine is right here. So if you hit on the play button right here, and this should be, I don't know, okay, we really needed to have print a result out right here. This must have worked, because if you take a look here, you see that the table has been created, and it's actually called a table.py right here. No. This is the one we really created just now, right? I think if that is also even created, it should just be found inside of this connect right here, inside of this my underscore database right here. So we wouldn't actually just see that like that. So what I want to do is just do print. I'm going to just do let's say print right here. This is going to be print, and then say something like table created successfully. All right, and then save the changes. So if we run these, we should be able to see this message down here that says the table created successfully. All right, so that is just that. So that has been really created. The next thing we want to take a look at is how we can actually maybe insert something into that particular table that we have actually created. All right, and if we want to do that, it's also really very simple. What we want to do right now is let's create a new file that we are going to actually use to maybe insert something to the database, to this particular table right here called the users. All right, actually before we go ahead and then kind of insert data into this database or into this table called the users right here, I want to copy this, and then first of all and then fetch what is actually already in this particular table called the users. I know it's actually empty right now, but I just want to prove to you guys that it's really empty, because some of you may be thinking that maybe I got something already in that place. So if we open this and let's say fetch, or let's just basically call this query and open that up, I want to paste this code that I just copied from the other page into this place. And we're basically going to need all of the things we have in here, like the importation of the SQL tree right there. And what I want to do down here is basically I'm going to get rid of this. Sorry about that, but what I'm going to do is let's just get rid of this from here, and maybe I'm going to take away this commit right here, but I may need let's take this away also. So this is the only thing I have in here right here. So the first thing I want to do in here is I want to run my SQL code within this particular place. So where we have execute, I want to throw in my quotation in here, and what I want to do is to first of all just say something like select, and I'm going to just do all, let's do from, and the table is actually called a users. All right, so we're going to just do users right there, and that is it on that particular line. But then down here, what I want to do is I want to save everything that I'm actually going to get from that particular selection, put it in a table, I mean in a variable called a users. So let's set that to be equal to, of course we're going to just make use of cursor right here, and this is going to be cursor dot fetch all. So to fetch everything from the database, you do fetch all, right? And that is just it on that line. Then down here, what I want to do, I want to use something like I want to print out the results. So this is going to be, let's say print results, and to do that I want to use something like a for loop. So I'm going to just do for user in users like that. And what do you basically want to do? I want to go ahead and then do print right here. So this is going to be print, and what I want to print right here is actually going to be user. So I'm going to just do user like that. All right, so if we save the changes, and I think we just basically we closed our connection down there. Yeah, we do have our connection closed down there. So if we save the changes right here, remember this is query. So if we run this, you see that we do not actually have anything in here, right? So that means that there is no data saved into the database yet. But then what I'm going to do next is this. I want to look for a way to insert some data into this particular table called the users. And if we come back and run this, we should be able to see the result down there. So let me copy everything that is on this page, and I want to create a new file right here, and let's call that insert. So let's call that insert, open that up, and I want to paste all of the things that I got on the clipboard onto this particular page. And then we need to edit the content right here. All right, so immediately under this particular line right here, let's go ahead and then create the stuff we want to have in database. So I'm going to just say list of whatever I want to call that. So to list them, I want to put all of them in something like an array right here. All right, so I'm going to just do users, put that in variable, and I'm going to just throw in this right here. And then within this place, I'm going to just, first of all, what I want to do right now is to create the first person right here. And let's just call that person maybe something like James. Let's put that in quotes, because this is actually a string. So we're going to just do James right here, introduce a comma in here, and let's say that his age is actually 30. So I'm going to put 30 right here, and I'm going to just copy this and then put that on the next line. And what this means is really very simple, right? So I just basically want to create another person in here. So I'm going to just do David right here, and let's say that this David's name is age is actually going to be 34, and we can introduce a comma right here to also introduce a comma right here if we want to put another one down there. So let's say the next person in here is actually going to be, let's say this is going to be Mary. So we're going to just do Mary right here, and let's say that Mary's age is 26 right there. Okay, so probably this is really the last person we want on this particular dictionary right here. All right, so we have that within that particular place, and that's a kind of ended right here. Then the next thing we want to do is to go ahead and then look for a way to insert this data into that particular table called the users. And to do that, we're going to utilize this execute right here. All right. So, however, we're going to just do cursor.execute, but we're going to just do something like many right here. This is the method that is actually used to do this. So it's actually called the execute many, because it's not only one item that we basically want to insert right here. So within this place, you can now go ahead and then write your SQL right here. So this is going to be insert into the table called the users. So let's type that correctly. This is actually users, and within that users right here, we do have a column that is actually called the name. So we do name right here, right? And we're also going to do a comma, and then we add age right here. So this is going to be age, and these are the things that we basically need, right? And we'll have that right there. So after that, we are going to try to create the values, right? So we're going to just do values right here. This is going to be values, and within the values, we can probably use something like question signs right here. All right, so we're going to just basically do this, and then we want to get out of this place, introduce a comma right here, and we're going to just basically say users, okay, which is just basically the table name right there. Not really the table name. This one is actually not serving as the table name right here, but it's just serving as the variable that is up here, right? So that's just what this one is actually serving as right there. Okay, so we do have that right there. And the next thing we can do is to go ahead and save the changes. So I don't know whether we've actually done that before now. I don't think we've done the saving of the changes right here, but we can actually go ahead and then try to go ahead and then do that down here. All right, so I'm going to let's go ahead and then take this away from here. and we do have that big close down here. But what I want to do, I'm going to just do, let's say this is going to be to save. Let's put a comment in here and just say save data. And to save the data, we just do CONN, and I will just do commit and throw in our brackets in here. And after that, the next thing we'll have down there is to just go ahead and then close, right? And that should just basically kind of do it on this particular page. So if we save the changes right here, and we go ahead and then let's go ahead and then hit on actually before we hit that save right there, I think we need to print out the results. So let's do print, and not really the result, but let's just print a message right here and just say something like multiple data saved to the DB table or something of that nature. So let's save the changes right here just the way that it is, and we can now go ahead and then hit on run right here, and you will see where we have multiple data saved to the DB right here. You see that it works just fine, right? And if that works just fine, the way that we're actually going to find out whether it works or not is if we go to the query right here, right? And we hit on where it says run. You see that we do have the result being printed for us right here, right? So we do have James right there. His age is 30, and we do have another person called David, and he's 34, and then we'll have the third person right there, which is Mary, and that person is actually 26. All right, and you see that the way that it's actually numbering them, all right, that place where we set auto increment before now, that's just basically how it works, guys. And that's nice, guys. So I hope your own is actually working up to this point. So if it's really working, congratulations to you guys. And that is it. All right. So we've found our way to insert many persons at a time. But what if we want to just insert only one person? All right. So in that case, we're basically not going to need all of these things that we kind of have in here. So we can just take away this menu right here and then execute that. But what I'm going to do is to highlight this, and I'm going to create another file. And let's say insert one or insert single, just to clear things up. All right, so I'm going to just do insert, and I'm going to just do single like that, and then open that up and then paste the code that I just copied right here. All right, and what we basically want to do is right here we'll have insert menu right here. We want to just execute menu right there. We want to just go ahead and then take that away from that particular place, and instead of having this which we have right here, if we want to make use of it, that's fine, but we can just basically maybe take that away, and I want to just basically delete this. And what I want to do within this particular place is you see where we are just basically up to this place is actually correct to here, but since we do not actually have this variable in existence anymore, we can just basically take this away. So I want to go ahead and then delete that. But then what we can do on this place is if we throw in our brackets in here, we can go ahead and insert whoever we want to insert in here. So I'm going to just do something like Alice, and I'm going to just do I'm going to introduce a comma in here, and then go ahead and put his age right there. So maybe something like 40 years old. All right, so that's just basically what that is, and that's just basically all that is needed on this. And if we save the changes in here, and we can just say single data and saved to the database, save the changes, and I hit in here and it says single data saved to the database right here. All right, so that's just basically what that is. So we've saved that. If we run our query right here, it's actually going to include that last one that we just kind of entered. All right, so that's just basically how you can actually paste this data. You see, no matter what happens, it's actually saved into that particular place. All right, and it does not really consume much space because it's actually very, very light. So I think one more thing that I basically want to do right here, okay, I want to open up this query, and I'm looking for a way to actually query maybe a specific data if I want to. So if we get in here, create a new file, and just say specific data. All right, so I want to open that up and then paste what I just copied to the clipboard, and all of the things that we do have right here, they are actually really needed, and this is also needed. But what I want to do is, since I want to like fetch a specific item, right, we can just change this a little bit up, and what we want to do is just go ahead and then try to enter a where clause right here. All right, so after we kind of specify the table, we're going to just do where, and maybe this time around we want to make use of name, and let's say that the person we want to like fetch right now is going to be that of the last person we entered, which is actually Alice, right? So I'm going to introduce a comma in here, and if I do that and then introduce this, what I want to do right here is to go ahead and then name the person that I want to kind of a fetch from the database, right? So with that, it should be able to fetch that, and then instead of saying fetch all right here, we're fetching just a specific person, so we can just do one, fetch one right here, and that should just be able to like do that. If we get down here, we wouldn't actually need to like look through all of these things that we have right here, I believe so. So what we need to do, I'm gonna take this away, and we can just do something like user, and we go ahead and then not really user right there. I think we've actually done that line with this right here. What we basically need to do, and let me change this to user, since we're just basically fetching one person, and then we can just basically say something like print and throw in this particular variable into this place. So I'm gonna copy this and then put that right here, and I save the changes. Then if we hit on run, okay, we do have an error right here, which says what? If we trace that, we do have cursor.execute, select all from user, and the error is actually pointing on line 11. If you take a look in here, it's somewhere around this particular place. And what we need to do is, I think we need to have a comma here. Are we supposed to have a comma in there? I think so. And if we save the changes, let's try to run that again. And I think it works just fine, guys. So that was just basically the error right here. So we need to separate that with a comma. So this is it. So if we change that to something like David, I think we'll have David in the database, save the changes, and then hit on run. See, it fetches a David with all of his details. If we change that to James, we'll have James in the table, and save the changes, hit on run. We do have James right there with his details. So that's just it on how to just specifically fetch a particular data from that of the database. So another thing is, if you want to fetch users maybe within a certain age range, you can also do that. If I highlight everything in here and then I want to create a new file, and we can just go ahead and say let's say certain age, put that up. Then I want to paste this right here. All right, so what I specifically want to focus on right here is on the age of the people that are actually within that particular database. So I'm going to just first of all, I'm going to select from that of the database, from that of the user set table, but this time around I'm going to use age in here. All right, and I'm going to use a comparison operator right here. So instead of setting that to equal to this, I'm going to just do if the person's age is actually greater than, let's say, 30. Anybody that's actually greater than 30 in that particular place, I want to go ahead and then fetch that particular person. All right, so we can just take let's put this right here, but then out of this particular place we need to like go ahead and enter the person's age within this particular place. So let's change this to 30. So if the person's age is actually greater than that of the 30, we can go ahead and then print their result right here. So down here we do have I'm going to just put S back right here. It's going to just be for users, and then we can change this to fetch all. And if we do that, we can bring in before we do that, I think we're going to basically run a loop up here first of all. So I'm going to just do for users in not basically for users, but for user in a users, what do we basically want to do. And down here what we want to do is just basically print out the results, because I'm going to just basically call this and then make sure we put that rightly. All right, so let's go ahead and then remove what else, and then if we save the changes, just take a look at that, and it should just look just fine. So if I hit on run, you see that it's going to just basically print all of the people that are just I think it's just basically looping through that result again and again. Or maybe I added that too many more times when I kind of went off camera, guys. So but if you take a look at the result, you see that we are just basically having those people that are just beyond the age, which is actually 30, are all of the people that it has just fetched right here. All right, so I know it's actually fetching at least several times, and that just basically maybe I've really added at least a lot more time before now. All right, so because we check this query right here, you see that we do actually have at least multiple times on this particular page, right? Want to hit on run, and if you check, you see that we do have at least multiple times. So it's basically correct, guys. All right, so the next thing I want us to basically do right now is we want to look for a way to update data in our database, right? So to do that, I want to copy one of the pages we have already created. So maybe I'm just basically I'm gonna just copy this page right here. So if I highlight here, copy that, and I want to create a new file, and basically let's call this update. This is going to be update underscore data, and open that up, and then I want to paste this. So what I want to do is to just edit this a little bit, and I think that everything we got up right there are actually correct. However, the only thing I need to work on right here is just basically going to be under this place right here. Right, so instead of the query that we got right here, what I want to do is let's highlight this and just say update. The table I want to update is actually called the users, and I'm going to just say set. And what do I basically want to set right here? I'm going to just maybe change someone's age right here, and I set that to be equal to quotation right here. I mean a question mark right here, all right? And I'm going to just basically take all of these things that we got right here, take that away, and let's set that back a little bit one more time. And what do I want to do right here? Just basically I need to take this away, right? Let's take that away, and I do have a comma right here. However, the person that I basically want to change their age right now is actually going to be, this is going to be David. So we should just be able to change David's name from 34 to, let's say this is going to be 44 this time around. So we're setting David to be 44. So if you take a look at the result down here, see David is actually 34 right here. So I want to go ahead and see how I can set his date to that of the 44 as an age within that particular place. So if we do that, the next thing we want to do, of course, we need to save the changes, and then after we save the changes, we need to close the database, and after that we need to maybe print a result down here that is just basically going to say something like we can just say user updated, just like that. So if you save the changes and I want to run this page, and then I think we do have an error in here, which is just basically coming from that should just be coming from this line, I believe, on line 11. And if you check down there, what I even say, that's an incorrect number of bindings supplied. The current statement uses 1 and there are 2, which was on line 11 right here, this particular line right here. So let's try to correct that. You know what, I think we need to interchange this right here. So I want to cut this up, and then of course let's take away this comma in here. Sorry about that. This is going to be right here, and I want to paste that right here, all right? Because we are just basically making use of age right here, and I want to like make sure that we match that with that. So I want to save the changes. I think we do not actually even need David right here. Do we really need this? I think we don't, but let's just hit on run, and we still had an error. So let's completely take away this, save the changes, and this alone should be able to do it. And we still have that error right there. What's wrong, man? All right, I think I've really seen the errors right here. So there's nothing like a where clause in this particular place, so we need to have that. So this is going to be where this is set this, we're going to just say set age to be equal to this, and where name, we're going to just say where name is actually equal to maybe this time around we'll set that to another question mark right here. And that's just basically what is actually going to allow us to be able to put a comma in here, and then go ahead and just say David right here. I think we're working on David, right? So that should be it. And then this line should completely get away from here, right? And then we can okay, we do have the print right here, so this should work now. If I hit here, we see user updated successfully, all right? And for that reason, if we go back to our query right here, and then we try to run this, this is query page, right? So if I hit in here, you see that if we look for David right here, David should now be 44 or something like that. All right, look at it right there. So David is now 44. So if we want to run that again, maybe you want to change his age to, let's say he's now 100 years old, you can just do that way, save the changes, and then run that again, and it's updated. And if you go to the query and then run the query right here, if you look for David again, you see that his age is now 100. Look at it right here, you see that? All right, so that's just basically correct. Take a look at the code in case your own is not looking just like my own. You can make sure you correct that right now. So what I want to do next is to look for a way to delete a data from the database, right? So if we want to do that, what I want to do, I want to copy everything that we got on this page, and then let's create a new file, get in there, and then go ahead and just say this is going to be delete underscore file. Open that up. This should have been something like delete data. That should have been the right file name for that, but it's still fine. So we do have everything that we need on this page. We've reported our stuff right here, and if we have that in there, we do have our connection, and then this is our cursor for SQL execution. And then down here, we're going to write a different query in here, all right? So instead of doing update right here, we're going to just do delete, and we want to delete from users table. And what you want to delete right here is just basically, I'm going to take this away. So we're going to just say delete from users. I'm going to just do from users right here, and where name is actually equal to maybe whatever name that we basically want to use. Okay, so if we want to delete somebody like David, we can actually do that. So to do it, we just basically want to get rid of this right here, and we can introduce a comma at the end of this particular line right here. All right, so that way it's going to actually look for David, and it will try to just get rid of David from the database that right there. So if you take a look down here, we do have the data saved right here, and after that we're closing our connection. But this message, we can just say something like we say user deleted successfully, save the changes. So if we hit on here, we should have user deleted successfully, right? So if we query where is our query, right? Okay, right here. So if we query this whole thing in here, we are not going to basically have David among the list anymore. So if you scroll down through this, you see that we have Alice, Mary, and James. So there's no more David within the system right there. So that's just basically how that works. Okay, so look at the code right here. If you want to put that down, you are here and do that, and it works just fine. All right, so the next thing I want us to take a look at right here is actually how to delete the whole table. And if we want to do that, I want to right click in here and then create a new file, and we can just say delete underscore table, and then open that up. And what I want to do with this is I want to copy the code that we got right here into this page. And of course, you're already familiar with the code in here. All right. So what we want to do is that we want to delete a whole page, a whole table from that of the database, and that's just basically the user's table that we're basically going to delete right here. Okay, so to do that is really very simple. We can just change the SQL right here, and this is going to be, instead of what it is right now, it's just basically going to be drop. So let's put quotes in here first of all, and we just say drop table, and we want to name the table, which is actually called a users. All right, and we can save the changes. First of all, before we do that, we can just say, let's say table deleted successfully, and then save the changes right here. So I believe that should be able to work just fine. So if we hit on run, see where they say table deleted successfully. So for that reason, if we go to our query, so I want to close out some few things right here so that query can actually come out. Look at query right here. If you run this table right here, I think we actually are not going to really see the results right here anymore. So I have this selected as query. Let's close all of these things that we have on this page, guys, and focus our attention on. So we have delete file right here, and right here we are just basically focusing on this, right? So if we run this right here, you see that it's just going to return an error, right? So it says a traceable. The message right here say no such table as users. So we do not actually have any tables anymore. That's why it's a kind of a printing this result for us right here. So we've really deleted the table with this SQL that we just ran right here, job table users. So we do not actually have any tables anymore on that particular database. And that's just basically how that is actually done. So I will give you an assignment, and that is just how to delete a database itself. All right, so you just go ahead and do that by yourself. And in conclusion right here, if you want to make use of this SQLite and Python in a real world, you can actually make use of that, and there are huge benefits that are actually associated with that. Number one, you can use this for something like user authentication, such as storing usernames and password. Another one, that's number two, is logging applications and data, maybe something like storing logs in the local database. And the third one is storing customer orders, maybe it could be for a small business application or something of that nature. And then the fourth one is the most of the mobile apps and then local storage, they actually kind of make use of this particular SQLite a lot. Okay, so things like Android apps, often they use something like SQLite quite a lot of the time. So this is just a beautiful and a handy thing to really use if you are just working with that of the Python, okay, and then you want to make use of SQLite. And that is just it. So in the future, or if you need this, you can go to the comment section and then comment that you really need us to do this in something like MySQL, and then we can just prepare and then record a video on how to actually make use of this with that of the MySQL, okay, so Python and the MySQL. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.